Hello, my name's Len Unwin. I'm Curriculum Team Leader here at Sheffield College, and today I'm going to show you how to make choux pastry and the products we can make from that. So first of all, it's really important that you choose an appropriate size pan. If the pan is too big, when we come to boil the liquid, it will evaporate too quickly and you'll be reducing your liquid content against your flour. Likewise, if it's too small, you'll not have enough surface area to cook the base, the panada, out. So, first of all, on our induction hob, we've got a pan, and I've got equal quantities of milk and water. These are my recipes. You might find some recipes that contain just water, some recipes that contain just milk. Into that, I'm going to add salt and sugar. Obviously, if I was doing a savoury product, I would omit the sugar. So choux pastry is a really versatile pastry that we can use for many, many things. I've got some butter, but I've cubed it up really nice and small. It's just at room temperature because we are going to melt it anyway. Now, the important thing here is that we melt that butter slowly. If we start to boil that rapidly, the liquid will boil off before the butter melts, and again it will change those ratios. So we're just bringing that up to the boil. For this, you'll also need a stand mixer for when we start to incorporate the eggs into the product. So this is now just coming up to heat, and we're just melting at this stage. If we have a look inside there, we can see the butter's just starting to soften as the heat comes into the pan. And that's why it's really important to cut those butter pieces nice and small. It's easier to cut them when it's cold and then let it come to room temperature rather than have room temperature butter which you then try and cut up. So just moving that butter around. What you can do, if you've got time or you're doing other jobs, you could put some cling film over the top of that and then turn it down to its lowest setting, so it just melts within the pan, and again you're not losing any moisture because it's just going on the back of the cling film. So we're nearly there now. But it's really important to make sure all of that butter is completely melted. So once that's melted, I'm going to turn the heat up so the milk and the water start to just come up the pan. I'll then take that off and I shall add in my sieved flour. So the flour that we're using for this is a strong flour. You may see some recipes that use plain flour. Again, it's something I've always used and it works for me, but to be honest, it's just the chef's choice of recipe. So we're nearly there now, so I'm just going to turn that heat up. So you can see it's completely melted. So I'm now just turn the heat up so we start to get that boiling action going. Literally 10 seconds. The minute I see it start to come up, and it needs to boil. If you don't boil that and add your flour, what you'll find is the absorption rate isn't the same. If it doesn't absorb in the flour, you'll end up with flat choux buns. So just started to come to the boil. Take it off the heat, add all the sieved flour all at once, and you get quite a lumpy mixture. Just be patient, bring it all together. And we are now bringing that to a nice smooth dough. If you look at it, it's almost like a mashed potato. That's the easiest way I can describe it. We're now going to flatten it down in the pan, and we're going to dry that pastry out. So we put it back on the heat, on a medium heat, and count to 10. Once we've reached 10, we give it a stir, and you can see steam is starting to come off. We flatten it down again, and we count to 10 again. Give it a final stir. And there we go. So now, if you can see in the bottom of the pan, we have a dry film across the bottom, and we all know it's all evenly cooked. If you don't cook that flour out, again, the choux doesn't work properly. We're now going to transfer that into a bowl. Actually, before we do that, what you can do, because you don't want the mixture red hot before you add the egg, you can spread it out like that to cool down. However, if we put it into our bowl and put it on a medium speed, the movement will cool that down. So you'll be able to see steam coming away. In the bowl. Some of the problems you can have with choux pastry are if you've overcooked it in that pan, if you've taken it too far, what you then find is the fat starts to leach out, which gives you a very heavy choux bun. As I say, if you've not cooked that enough, you end up with flying saucer shapes rather than a nice root, smooth, round profiterole. So I'm just looking to take some of the heat out of there. And then I've got my eggs ready. I always do my eggs by weight. For this recipe I've got 240 grams rather than by individual eggs, because eggs vary and change sizes from small, medium to large. So at least this way I know I've got a consistent amount. However, as with all flour-based things, you need to temper that with a degree of skill and knowledge, just knowing how much needs to go in. The important thing is we add the egg slowly. So I'm adding about a tablespoon to start with, letting the machine bring that together. Then a little bit more this time. And before I add the next amount, I'm making sure the first lot is incorporated. So it's all starting to come together. And what you might find is you might need to stop your machine and just give the bowl at the bottom a little bit of a scrape. So we don't end up with areas where the egg isn't incorporating. So choux pastry is one of those things that really tends to scare a lot of people because of the areas where it looks like it's gone lumpy, the areas where it's not incorporating quick enough. Just be patient with it and follow these processes. So the egg's going in nicely. Now what I'm looking for with my mixture, that's still quite tight and quite heavy because it's not moving a lot on the paddle. So that's telling me I need to add some more egg. So back on. Add a little bit more egg. Again, we'll have another look. So again, making sure you're scraping round the side of the bowl. So this time we're going to lift it up. And we're looking, and it's just nearly there now. We're just starting to get a little bit, and that's what we're looking for. The bottom of the mixture forms a V, and it just pulls its own gravity. It might take just a tiny bit more egg, but you don't want a mixture that's too wet and sloppy. It doesn't pipe very well. So as you can see, I've probably got about half an egg quantity wise left in the jug. Final burst of speed. And we've got that nice V shape, which is just starting to drag itself down. So that's our mixture made. Clean everything off. You know, really be conscious about when you're working with ingredients that you don't leave things in bowls, you don't leave things on equipment, because otherwise you're wasting money. And we do need to make sure that we've got that. So the next job, we're going to take a baking sheet, and I'm going to show you how to pipe profiteroles or choux bun, and I'm also going to show you how to pipe an eclair. So we take our paper to line our tray, and first of all we're going to cut that paper to size. And so we get an even length of our eclairs, we can take the paper and with a rule and a marker pen, we're going to draw a line, and then depending on how long we want the eclairs, we're going to draw a parallel line. Now it's important at this stage that you remember to turn the paper over before you bake on it. So we're going to spray the tray. And then turn the paper over so we're not piping onto the area that we've just drawn on. So we'll do eclairs first. So you want nice piping nozzles. If you can, I prefer a nice metal nozzle. You get a nice sharp shape, a nice sharp tip, and there's the round one for the choux. So I use around about a 14mm nozzle star shaped for the eclairs and a 10mm nozzle for the choux buns. Open the bag over the back of your hand and drop the nozzle inside. So there's one. Same again, if you're right-handed, form a horseshoe over the back of your left hand, drop the nozzle inside. So a quick tip, you can stand it inside a measuring jug, but we're only dealing with a small amount here. So I've got it over my hand. Like so. So here's the second one. And the beauty about choux paste, it's so versatile between sweet and savoury products. So as we say, we can make eclairs, we can make choux bun, we can make elephant feet, we can make gâteau Saint-Honoré, so many variations, but it's also good for savoury. So beaten into that, we could add some cheese, and within that cheese, once we've made that, we can make some gougères, which are a nice little canapé, a nice little snack before your meal. We could work in things as daft as black pudding and deep fry them and create a little fritter. So I'm going to take the top of the bag, I'm just going to score around with a knife, or you could do it with a pair of scissors and then remove. Always make sure you remove the piece of bag that you've cut off so that doesn't go into your food. So again, we've taken that piece of bag off. So following the lines that we've done, take your right hand, if you're right-handed, put put your thumb and finger at the top, turn the bag upside down so you're pushing the air out, just until the choux comes to the end. And what we're going to do, we're going to pipe nice lines. The right hand squeezes, the left hand guides. So squeeze, stop, and go back. Squeeze, stop, and go back. So all our eclairs are now an even size. Okay. So we've got nice even product there. The choux bun, again right hand, turn it upside down, expel all the air, and we pipe directly on top and form a nice bulb, and then twist, pipe, twist, and try and work in even lines. And the reason you want to work evenly is so if you were doing, say, 50 of these on a tray, and you did row of 5 by 10, you know you've done 50. Whereas if you pipe randomly and ad hoc, you've got to start counting individual ones up. If you've got little peaks just on the top, we can take some cold water and just with your finger, just press them down. Or if you're going to glaze them with egg, you can just get a pastry brush, dip it in, remove the excess, and just touch the tops of each one with a pastry brush. And they have choux buns and eclairs. So once they're baked, you get your nice light risen choux bun, which, as I say, can be filled with anything sweet or savoury. So we've got a nice dome shape on the top, nice even base, and a choux bun to me should almost be slightly overbaked so you get a nice crisp outside, because generally the filling that you're going to put in is wet. So if that choux bun is not evenly baked and evenly coloured around the side, you end up with a wet, soggy product. Whereas slightly overbake it, the moisture from the filling goes in. So you would take a hole in the bottom and fill into the bottom and make sure it is full, make sure it's nice and generous inside. And if we take a look inside, these are empty ones, but you can see you've got a nice aerated hollow centre for that filling to go. These can be served with chocolate sauce, rhubarb. We do one with a rhubarb and custard filling, really nice. And then the other product you can do are the eclairs, as we've said. So again, we've piped that eclair, we've got a nice even length of all of them, a nice even rise, good colour. We would then create 3 holes in the bottom. So in the bottom then we can fill them, and rather than just the one hole where you're not guaranteed of filling it full, you've got now 3 points of entry where it's completely filled. And then they can be topped off with fondant icing, or they can be topped with chocolate sauce or caramel, etc. So just to recap, we brought the water, milk, salt, sugar and butter just so everything had melted. We brought it up to the boil. We then took it off the heat and added our flour, beat it, returned it to the heat, counted to 10 3 times, stirring in between each time, off the heat, onto the mixer, allowed to cool down slightly, and slowly added the egg. Then we brought them into the piping bags and then piped out on a nice even